Pariah Nexus. It has been more than 2 years since the 9th edition trailer came out in May 2020. Okay, it's been like 3 years since the 9th edition trailer came out in 2020. And now we have this, the sequel, a 20-minute animation. Or that is, part 1 of an unknown number of parts that's gonna become a series. But if you've watched the trailer for it, and like me, you've seen the first episode, you will realize that basically all of the trailer moments were here in this first 20 minutes. It doesn't bode well. And this animation was meant to come out this summer, but it has been a little bit delayed to now autumn. I'm gonna take you through a summary of what happens, and then you'll be able to tell for yourself if, from this description alone, you really want to see that, but slightly animated. It is very much in the style of the 9th edition trailer. It's not like the previous Warhammer animations that are in like cartoon stills that alternate and change and switch between frames, and there's only like 50 frames for the entire episode. It is at least animated. In 3D! There will be some minor spoilers, and if there's going to be any major spoilers, I'll let you know, and you can be like, whoa, from the description so far, I really wanted to watch this, so I better hold back and see this happen for myself. Okay, sure, let's begin though. The very first part of the setting is shown through a series of statues with no voiceover. Just there's a Battle Sister statue, there's a Screaming Civilian statue, there's a Necron statue, there's a Space Marine statue, there's just some statues, and then nothing. And then acts start. First one is Impact. We have some Salamanders who are on a Thunderhawk, and the Thunderhawk is crashing because it's not the start of an episode or series. If you're not having the helicopter or helicopter equivalent crash violently, thus stranding the people within on this isolated place. The world is called Paradyce, spelled slightly weirdly, as you can see from my subtitles. The world itself is never described as such. We don't know actually where it is. We're just assuming it's somewhere in the Pariah Nexus from the title of the show, Pariah Nexus. But we have Salamanders. They stand there while their ship is on fire. Everything seems fine to them. They don't really do anything. This is their element. One of the Salamanders falls out of the Thunderhawk, but I don't know if that's relevant or not. Over the course of the 1 minute, the ship goes from crashing to crashed. I'm not asking for something as amazing as the incredible scene where the plane is going to be hit by missiles.
India Golf 909 transmitting in the blind guard. Disengage, repeat, disengage! Friendlies at 20 miles southwest of your position. Angels 10 track east. Disengage! Out! Disengage, repeat, disengage! Mayday, mayday! India Golf 909 is buddy spike. Abort, abort! There are children aboard. Say again, there are children aboard this.
No!
Abort, abort, abort! Abort, abort, abort!
But I was expecting something other than just watching a ship on fire spiral. And that is the end of Act 1. After a whole minute, a whole new act begins. Act 2 is Fires in the Sky, which goes from very loud to very, very quiet. Something that will recur between the acts. And we're back with the Battle Sister from the trailer. She still has blood in her hair, so it seems to take place very soon after the events of the trailer and not like 3 years later. She's picked up a new helmet, which she chooses to wear, but with the visor up. So her face is exposed and we can see all the lip animations, which has had a little bit of stick. It's only slightly better than mine. Don't look too closely at my lip sync. It does sort of exist. Sort of. Theirs is better, but not studio quality level better. She's with the Cadian, who we briefly saw in the 9th edition trailer, and that Cadian just doesn't have a gun. Despite the number of guns that are available around them from all the bodies, she does not have a gun. This is weird to me, and made me think maybe she's like a vision, a memory, someone for the Battle Sister to talk to when she's like questioning her faith, something like that. She's there to provide quips. And that's the end of that act. Act 3, which goes from very quiet to very, very loud as we see a screaming guardsman dying to have his memories removed to show a death mark, the Space Marine Sergeant from the 9th edition trailer, and the Battle Sister, and the Cadian, and some other guardsmen. Then the scene goes quieter and quieter as we get Illuminator Ceres talking to a Deathmark. None of these characters have names, so I'll just be calling them the Sister, the Cadian, the Space Marine Sergeant, Illuminator Ceres, I guess he has a name, and Deathmark. The most evil version of Mark to appear yet in the Warhammer universe. The scene ends quite quietly, which means that the next scene has to start shockingly loud. We are now nearly halfway through the episode and no bullets have been fired. But this is where those bullets do get fired, as we have a Deathmark who doesn't go after any of the characters we recognize, but goes after 3 guardsmen who were in the vision. They die pretty quickly, but it's not even as cool as the guardsman that died in the 9th edition trailer. And we're back with the Battle Sister. She's walking along with the Cadian. We're seeing a lot of bodies, a couple of Battle Sister bodies, a Necron body that hasn't phased out, and I think they still phase out in the lore, unless that's been changed again. It's so difficult keeping track of the Necron lore when you've seen them introduced in 2nd edition as the Necron Raiders that always phase out. Then in the 3rd edition they have a whole rule where if you destroy 75% of their models, the whole army phases out. Now, I don't know if they actually phase out anymore. I assume they do, but there's Necron bodies, so they broken? Phase out bit broken? Maybe. Very bad design flaw that's gonna lead to some Necrons getting captured, like you could only do in like 2nd edition with some special devices. Anyway, we see some Ultramarine bodies, and they have the tactical markings from the 6th Company. A lot of the backgrounds here would be very pretty, but they've added so much mood lighting and random fire that the whole thing is just a glow of orange or a glow of green or just very, very black. Or the whole thing is just a matte brown and you're trying to pick out some kind of details. Somewhere in there is some beautiful artwork. You just can't see it. The Cadian asks the Sister who is to blame for the death of this world, if not the Space Marines for their failure to turn up and fix everything, which is their job. And the Sister doesn't answer. And so now we switch back to the Deathmark for Act 6. This is where we have the major spoilers. So if you've heard what I have to say so far and think, oh wow, at 50% or more of the episode, this sounds amazing, I absolutely must see it. Okay, great. Off you go, have fun with that. Let me know how it went. Actually, it's more like 75% of the animation, because at this point, we only have 5 minutes left. We see the Sergeant from the 9th edition trailer. He's got his red helmet, he's got his chainsword, and he very quickly gets shot by the Deathmark and killed. He's definitely shot in the head, so I would say he counts as dead. It's not like an off-screen bullet that fires and you go, oh, that must be representing his death. No. He gets shot in the head. I don't think that's something Space Marines even survive. And the Deathmark moves on, suggesting that, yeah, he's dead. He dies saying, "In the Emperor's name." But it sounds all grainy and through a filter, and is nothing like the voice that we heard in the 9th edition trailer.
Our Imperium is besieged.
The Sister's voice also,
"It is better to die for the Emperor,"
is nothing like the voice we heard in the 9th edition trailer.
"In battle, he offers us redemption."
When it very much seemed that when she was talking about killing the alien,
The alien,
the heretic,
the heretic.
those kinds of people, that was definitely a first-person self-insert voice. Presumably after this many years, they haven't been able to get the same voice acting team back. Act 7? You know, I'm gonna have to start putting unnecessary act change cards in my videos myself, if this is how the professionals do it. Act 7 is The Damned. So after not talking for a very long while, the Sister gives an answer to the Cadian that she blames the residents of the world for not fighting better and not having faith. The Cadian says,
all across the Imperium, tens of millions of lives are lost every second.
well, why does this world matter so much when there's loads of other worlds and people dying across the Imperium in their millions? Are the shrines of the world more important than the people who worship at them? Yeah, obviously. The shrines are more important. I play Adeptus Sororitas. Shrines are important as a reason to be on a planet, to be more than nomads. The shrines represent civilization. The shrines are order. The shrines are power. The shrines are a rallying point and a cultural touchstone. They represent the past. They represent something to remember in the future, something of value. But the Sister doesn't say any of that. She says,
Be quiet! There's something out there.
because she's seen a Kriegsman from the trailer of this episode, and it's some sort of zombie. It doesn't quite get creepy like a "are you my mummy" kind of creepy as you could get with a guy with a gas mask that's just loitering around, shaking. But it's kind of close in design. The Sister then massacres a bunch of zombie people. These were apparently some of the leftovers from one of Ceres' experiments. The audio is really good for the bolt gun sound. And then as the sister kneels to pray afterwards, you can hear the servos in the knee whine. That is a nice touch. But Suarez must also really respect the Kriegsman's cultural standing to not expose their face from the gas mask, because we know from earlier that he puts his own weird tube in their mouth to weirdify them and do crazy science, necron science experiments. So he must then take that tube out, then put their own gas mask back on them as a sign of respect? I don't know. That doesn't seem in his nature. But okay. The whole time this fight is going on, the Cadian is just standing on a rock nearby being quippy. Not like Marvel level quippy, but it reminded me a lot of a video game when the escort character or a side character would stand up above and to one side out of the fight and shout things like, "Press X when the circle turns green." So that again makes me think that the Cadian isn't actually real. Either that or just really doesn't like to fight. That could be part of the effect of the Pariah Nexus. We know that in the Pariah Nexus, regular humans slowly have this depression lay on them where they don't want to do anything or move, and they just lie there and wait for the end to come. That could be part of that, because the only counters that we've seen are Faith and being a Space Marine, but mainly Faith. So the Battle Sister does indeed press X when the circle turns green, and that green appears as one salamander walks closer to them. If there's anything else after that, it looks like you'll have to wait until the next episode. The episode had some nice moments. It had some good background shots, but unfortunately they only last a fraction of the second, so unless you pause it at the right time, you can't enjoy them. It had some good special effects noises for the servo sounds, for the bolt gun, for the walking. That was good audio design. What wasn't good audio design is the audio balance. Every time a scene ended on a loud point, it would start on a quiet point, and every time it ends on a quiet point, the next scene starts on a loud point. Audio jump scares are the worst kind of jump scares. I'm still going to call them ending these scenes, because these are 1 to 2 minute scenes. They do not need to be called acts. That is just the wrong word. So there is nothing here to match the hype of the 9th edition trailer, which had far more emotion, context, and battle scenes in its 2 minutes than this had in 20. So if you want to see the Battle Sisters in action against necrons, you'll have to just rewatch the 9th edition trailer from May 2020. If you want to see 2 women in an abandoned city walk around and talk about life and purpose and what it's all for, then you need to go to Newcastle City Centre at 4 AM on a Saturday, or any major metropolitan area at that time. Or if you want to see that, but animated and enjoyable, go watch Girls Last Tour. And hopefully there's 1 or 2 people in the comments that can actually recommend that, and it's not just me recommending it. So is it worth getting Warhammer Plus just to watch this? No. Not even for a free model. Not even for the ability to use a little bit more of the Warhammer app. If this was meant to entice Warhammer fans into buying the subscription, I tell you now, I do not think it is worth it. And this certainly doesn't have the wider appeal for anyone outside of the Warhammer fandom to be able to understand anything about what's going on or why it would be of interest to them. The 9th edition trailer, though, does have that. Cool voice lines.
While we draw breath, we will fight.
Battle scenes. Character moments. None of that appears here in Pariah Nexus. But perhaps you have a Warhammer Plus subscription yourself, you saw it and thought it was great. Please tell me which of your favourite 1 minute acts was the best. I have previously done my best to improve on a Warhammer trailer. I don't think I'll be able to do it for this animation. My darlings and viewers, I will see you soon.